Hello, and welcome back to the Opcast, Opline's podcast, where we highlight some great partners of ours, great veteran supporters, and just talk about things going on in the employment world. I am excited today and fired up to have Angel Cyr here from Nucor Steel. We're representing our green for Nucor today, both of us. No jacket today. I'm going green for Nucor, so all good, and really a pleasure to have you here and to get a little bit of insight of what you're doing at Nucor and how y'all really are a leader, in my opinion, in the veteran hiring space. But I want to get to know you a little bit and share a little bit about your background with our audience today. So with that, I will turn it over to you for a little introduction. So Angel, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Beau, so much for having me on today. Thanks for pronouncing the last name right. I mean, it is going to be changing in a few months. I'm going to be an official military spouse come November. I'm marrying my soldier, so I'll be Mrs. Roman come November. So that's an exciting development in my world. And again, like you said, bringing that passion into my work life as well, making sure that I'm serving the military community, not just veterans, but also military spouses, guardsmen, and also, reservists, making sure we're bringing in great opportunities for them at Nucor. So I actually sit out in Connecticut. That's where I was born. I was born into a military family, so Navy blood on both sides of my family. So really grew up just with an appreciation and respect for service. Fast forward to, I would say, 2013, I became a single mom. My best friend, her husband is a Marine, and really kind of adopted me and my two sons into their community, made sure that we were supported, through a pretty tough time in our life. So we met them out here in Connecticut and then followed the Corderos down to South Carolina, where they were based when he was a drill sergeant at Parris Island. So we got to go down and see the recruits going through it in that South Carolina heat. It was no joke, Beau. I don't know how y'all do it, but it was really cool for my sons to see that and see how military families lived and the dedication and sacrifices that they made. So we did get to go to California as well and reconnect with the Corderos at Air Base Miramar. And then when I started focusing on military talent 3 years ago, Cordero was the first one to welcome me at Camp Pendleton. So it was awesome to have him see me come full circle in my journey in my life of finding a really stable, awesome opportunity with Nucor where I'm serving the military community. So that's just kind of a bit of my kind of life's journey into the military community, or just growing up within the military community and finding a purpose of serving this community. So that's a little bit about me. I've been with Nucor since 2019. I started off serving our Connecticut division here in Wallingford, Connecticut. And then in 2022, I raised my hand for a talent partner role, so really focusing on the talent acquisition needs within the Northeast for Nucor. We do have probably over 300 operating divisions across North America. So as my role kind of evolved, I definitely raised my hand and said, why isn't anybody focused on military talent full time? And I would say towards the end of 2023, that became my full-time role. So I would say this past year, 2024, really spent a lot of time digging into my vision for this program, bringing up additional teammates that are passionate about military talent and serving this community. And I'm really excited to see us continue to evolve the support around this program and what we're doing to give back to the military community.
I love all of that, and it's great, to see the inspiration you had from the early days, from growing up in a Navy family and having a Marine take you on board. You're right, Paris Island is no joke, especially in the summertime. So if you can
That's
survive
right.
that, you can survive anything. So well
That's
done
right.
on that front. That's great. And again, I love the fact you make a great point, that we often talk about veteran hiring, but it really is the military community. I mean, it is the
Yes.
veterans it's the military spouses who are such a backbone of our community. It's the student veterans. It's anyone that's connected to the military community has opportunities. And I know a place like Nucor welcomes them into their culture and values their experience and their background as any part of the military community, which is awesome. For folks that may not know about Nucor Steel, we get it. It's steel. Like what people probably, I worked at Amazon for a long time. People kind of get what Amazon does, but
Hmm.
what do y'all do? I guess for someone that's interested in potential roles at Nucor, what kind of highlight maybe something? What are you known for? What do you do? What are you looking for? Let's talk a little bit about that. I'd love to hear more of that for our audience.
Yeah, Nucor definitely does not have, I would say, the brand name recognition of an Amazon or a Lowe's, right? But if you think about it, steel goes into so many different things around us. I mean, the buildings, the houses, the bridges that we drive over every single day. But even just sitting in the sales office that I'm in Connecticut, I mean, there's pieces of, the interior of a door or fencing or tennis rackets or piano keys, right? There are so many different elements that need steel. But Nucor is actually the nation's largest recycler, believe it or not, because of our green steel making process. So basically taking the scrap and different metals and basically reutilizing them in our steel making process. So Nucor is the most diversified steel and steel products manufacturer in the United States. And our biggest thing is that we want to be the safest steel manufacturer in the world, the safest steel company in the world. And that was something when I joined this company 5 years ago was super important to me. I knew that I loved manufacturing and that was the world that I wanted to operate in. But to see the amount of care that Nucor has for its teammates and making sure that we're going home safe to our families every day, that's something that really resonated with me. So we're known for steel and we're known for being a very stable company. I mean, I think in the past 50 years we've continued to pay a dividend to our stockholders. So very stable, very diverse. So it's not just traditional steel making of beam and plate and bar and sheet steel, but it's also the downstream products. So we're also, manufacturing overhead garage doors made out of steel using the steel that we're making at our steel making operations. It's power transmission towers. The amount of different types of steel products that we manufacture is very diverse.
No, I think it's fascinating to hear that. 'Cause again, it's not something I would have thought of, but you just maybe take for granted that steel's in everything or more things than you appreciate. I have piano keys and tennis rackets. Like, yeah, I never would have thought of that. It's kind of cool. And I think at least for me, I have this image of a steel plant of like molten steel and buckets and like just fire and stuff. I mean, I'm sure it's not exactly. Maybe it is exactly like that. I don't know. That's my that's what I have from back in the 70s. I'm sure it's changed dramatically. But what kind of roles? I mean, typically are you hiring for? I'm sure it's not just I mean, I'm sure there's a wide variety of types of roles you're hiring for. Maybe just talk a little bit about the different kind of opportunities there are. Obviously, you're on the HR side, and I assume there are tech roles, and I mean, a wide variety of things. It's not just being in carrying the pail
Production
of
environment,
rivets or
right?
something. I don't know.
And that's definitely, I think, a bias that Nucor continues to want to overcome. That, since the 1960s, our founder, Ken Iverson, Navy veteran himself, he really was an innovator in the steel industry with bringing technology into his steel plants that is very green and sustainable. So the way that we're actually making steel is very environmentally responsible. We're focused on that sustainability. So just right there could be roles that focus on the environmental impact in the communities that we're producing in. It ranges anywhere, Bo, from entry level, learning the production floor and the different functions there, to finance, HR, purchasing, supply chain. So what we like to say is basically any function that you would see in the military, we probably have a similar role here at Nucor. We try to think of like what is the exception, right? But even saying that, I mean, we've had folks that were combat medics, and they've come in and they're now like our safety directors. So just taking what are those transferable skills, and that's what Opline has really helped us with, because I think back to Camp Pendleton and having a Marine come up to me and say, yeah, I'm an 11 Bravo, I'm infantry. Like, how does that translate to the steel industry? And, the recruiters and I always like to bring Nucor veterans out with me because they can talk to their fellow Marines, talk to, their fellow sailors or soldiers, whatever the demographic is that we're talking to. And they know what those transferable skills are. They know that this person's going to walk in with that spirit of teamwork, but being able to connect the candidates with the transferable skills that they have from their military service to us, that was a challenge. So now every career fair that we go out to, we actually bring these cards that have the Opline tool there. The candidates can scan it, enter their MOS, and it'll help them to better align and sort through the over 300 job postings that Nucor has on any given day.
No, I love that, and thanks for the offline plug. Obviously, I'm a big believer in the tool and how it makes it
Me
easy for our
too.
veterans and mil spouses to match their jobs. And again, it's your point. Most recruiters and most sourcers aren't veterans. They don't understand what 11 Bravo or for me an 0311, right? A grunt. All right, you're used to blowing things up or being homeless and carrying everything on your back for a while. How does that make you a good employee for a steel company? But I think maybe, and you hit on it a little bit, but why is Nucor a good place for veterans? Why should veterans seek out to come to Nucor, as opposed to other companies?
Yeah, it's something that I talk to transitioning service members a lot about is it's our culture, Bo. It really is. It's something that I felt when I found this place. I looked around and I was like, this feels like the military community because of that culture of support. We have a joke that Nucor stands for nephews, uncles, cousins, and other relatives, because once you find Nucor, and I found it when I was like 10 to 15 years, into my career, but you find that stability, you find that home. And for some veterans, it's something like 56% of veterans, it takes them like 2 or 3 jobs before they find that fit that feels good to them. So I talk to transitioning veterans and I tell them, like, really dig into what it is that you want. Like, how do you want to feel when you go to work every day? And I think for our teammates, they'll back me up on this, but you really feel that culture of support no matter what Nucor division you're at. There's what I like to hear sometimes is like it's everything they liked about the military. We have it here, right? But there's also some changes as well. There's, that freedom to bring new innovation to the table. They're coming in with that fresh set of eyes where their leadership, abilities are valued with us. We want, obviously there's definitely technical skills that veterans are bringing to the table. They're lifelong learners, which we love as well. So there's just so many, I think, transferable skills and also values. So whenever you join Nucor as a new teammate, we're given a safety challenge coin. And on the back of that coin, there's our values, which are trust, family, teamwork, and open communication. So I think those values definitely resonate with the military community. So I really do think it's our culture that sets us apart and makes us a really really strong landing place for the military community.
I love that, and it is hard, I mean, I talk to and have talked to over the years thousands of transitioning veterans, and what you hear from them so often, they're scared. I mean, they don't leave, they're leaving behind a team, leaving behind a family, they're leaving behind that camaraderie, and they don't know what they'll, how to find that next opportunity where they're going to find something like that. It's never going to be exactly the same. I think everybody knows that. But if they can find someone that's close to that, where they do have that family, where they do have that sense of purpose and sense of giving back in some way and being part of a team. And I love, the fact that there are so many family members that join. It's just a good indicator that this is a place you want to tell your family about, right? It's a place you want to have your brother, your sister, your nephew go work for. That's a great, great, just, vote of confidence for the company. And I think that, culture is something that so many people that are transitioning don't think about. And I see that too. I tell people all the time, for veterans, like spend time understanding the culture of a company. Because as you noted, the culture of Nucor is going to be different than Amazon or JP Morgan or USAA or Visa or whatever it is. All great companies, but they all have different cultures. And if you
Yes.
don't find a place where you are culturally aligned, to your point, you're probably not going to be there for a long time, right? You can probably do the job, but doing the job is just the job. You want to be a place where you have a career and you have a family and you have something that you really believe in. And I think
Yes.
that's something that obviously is important in Nucor, that you invest in your people, and they really do find a family, their second family post the military in some cases. So that's fantastic and hard to create, but something that y'all have done very well. And again, I think that's something that will resonate with veterans. And on that note, I guess what would you say, a typical veteran's getting out, right? They maybe never heard of Nucor Steel before, but from, whether at an event or through Opline, they find a job and they can do it. What is like a typical career progression for someone that comes into Nucor? What do where do you kind of, what entry level roles maybe, and what do you do? Where do you go? Yeah, I'm just curious.
You go wherever you want to go. I mean, it's whatever path you want to forge for yourself. So I've seen so many cool examples, definitely with myself, like, just sharing my little bit of coming into a divisional role, had worked in HR my whole life, but just being passionate about military talent, right? So I raised my hand. I'm leading that charge now, right? But I'll give you the example. I talked to one of our Nucor veterans last week. His name's Matt. He's at our Nucor Steel Decatur division, Navy veteran. And he came into our Decatur division as a process engineer. So basically, really digging into our process. We're going to put some challenges in front of him, see what he does with it. And throughout that experience as a process engineer, he developed a real interest and curiosity around metallurgy. You talked about that cauldron of steel being formed and created, and that interested him so much. So he actually, did his research, continued working with our metallurgy teams, and that's his full-time role now. He's a metallurgist for Nucor. So I was really impressed to hear him come in with that engineering background out of the Navy, but transition it into something again that he was super interested in and raised his hand to learn more about. So I think whatever the veteran or the military spouse, whatever their interest is and their curiosity really calls them to, that can be their path at Nucor. I've seen it over and over again where someone walks in the door. We've had folks that are entry level work their way all the way up to general managers. So a general manager is basically like the CEO of that operating division. So they can come in entry level, get float around to different departments, see what piques their interest, Bo, and then from there, the sky's the limit for them at Nucor. And especially, like I said, with us being in over 40 out of 50 states, what do you want to do? Where do you want to live? Like, it's really doing some of that reflection, I think, post service and really thinking about what are the opportunities that I want to explore and expand myself to explore.
That's great. I mean, again, I think it talks more again. This is not a job. This is a career, right? You can make
Yes.
a career there, make a profession out of it. Metallurgy. I'm sure there's other things you could do that I probably have no idea what the key things are to be in the steel industry. But I love the fact that you always have the ability to grow, to advance, to learn new things, to try new things. And I didn't know it was 40 or 50 states. I probably should have known that, but that's amazing that you have locations in
Yeah.
40 or 50 states. It's a big. I mean, how big is Nucor off the top in generally speaking?
So we're a Fortune, I think 105 company, 32,000 teammates. So like I said, over 300 operating divisions. Definitely a huge reach. We have, I think, a few plants in Canada, a few in Mexico, and then we have a DRI plant in Trinidad and Tobago as well. Something else that I did want to touch on as far as like career paths go is that we do have pathway programs that have been very appealing to the military community because they're very well laid out. So I know within the military, there's certain steps or schools or things that you have to do to get to that next rank, right? So within Nucor, we do have programs that help bring in folks into sales or commercial roles. So we have our developmental district sales manager program. On the production operations side, we have our developmental production leadership program with our sheet group that's based all over the country, as well as with our raw materials group. We have both on the sales and operations side opportunities just come in. And like you said, you don't know anything about the sales or about the steel industry, we're going to teach you that, right? But you're walking in the door with leadership aptitude, right? So you're able to go through these rotational programs, maybe at a more advanced pace than someone that's just out of college, right? Because you're coming in, you're knowing how to lead teams. You just need to learn steel. So I love that Nucor is investing in those developmental pathway programs because they're very attractive to the military community as a way to get your foot in the door at Nucor and really learn our process and step out of that into a leadership role. So I'm really thankful for that, that we have those in place. Internally, too, we invest in the development of our teammates. So we have something called Nucor University. So it's basically a way for our teammates, whether they're entry level or higher, to basically develop different skill sets so that they can continue to advance within their career at Nucor.
I love, yeah, those developmental programs I think are invaluable, and not enough companies have them. We had one at Amazon, called Amazon Military Pathways. But to your point, is it's so well made, right? The veterans come in, they have the soft skills, they have the leadership, they have an ability to problem solve and look at problems in a different way. And I talk about that a lot. That veterans bring, not only are they diverse from an ethnic background, but they're diverse in the way diversity of thought. They look at
Yes.
problems differently. I mean, I look at Marines in particular. We usually don't have a lot of resources. It's kind of like, hey, here, figure it out, right?
That's
So if you
right.
can learn to figure it out in the Marine Corps, that skill set translates over to the corporate world because a lot of times you don't get all the answers. Like, hey, here's a problem. You can come in if you can solve those problems for a company. That's a value add. That lens that veterans bring to problems is huge, and I think underappreciated a lot of time. It is a soft skill, but it's a soft skill that allows you to, jump into a program like that, pick it up quickly, understand it, analyze it, and be a value add very quickly. So those programs, again, I think are something that love that Nucor has that opportunity. And again, you hit the nail on the head. You'll teach them the steel. You bring
Hmm.
everything else to it. We'll teach you the core business, but you can't teach somebody leadership, right? You can't teach somebody those core values that veterans bring to the table. And the fact that y'all are investing that just speaks volumes about what you're doing at Nucor and being a leader in the space and continuing to grow like you are. So I love it. That's great stuff for sure.
Thanks, Beau.
Well, that's really the key things I wanted to talk about today. Were kind of what Nucor is all about, what you do, kind of how you're investing in our veterans and the opportunities for veterans. Certainly would love to open the floor up kind of as for closing remarks of anything that you're doing these days. How do people find you, right? How do people find Nucor? Again, the name is not necessarily maybe known by as many people as it really should be. But if people are interested in opportunities at Nucor, what's the best way to engage with you and your team?
Yeah, I would definitely say check out our career page, nucor.com/careers. That's where you'll find our military translation tool that again pop in your MOS or as a mill spouse, share your experience and let's connect you with the opportunities at Nucor. I'm on LinkedIn, Angel Cyr, CYR. Again, that last name's going to be changing by November, but still find me on LinkedIn. Something special that I like to do there, Beau, is that I put myself out there to connect with the military community. So I host probably 3 to 5 transition talks with transitioning service members per week, just talking to folks where they're at in their transition journey. Same thing with military spouses, like as they're getting ready to PC, just talking about opportunities that lie with Nucor at their next duty station. So that's something that has been awesome to connect me with different folks across the military community. So definitely don't be afraid to connect with me on LinkedIn. That's my platform of choice. But Nucor as a whole, we're on all the platforms. We have a YouTube channel where you can see cool videos that show our steel making process. So you could see, what it looks like inside of a steel mill. You can learn more about our focus on sustainability and what we're doing in that space. We're on Instagram, so you'll get to see what it's like, day in the life of one of our teammates, from the intern experience to what it's like for a woman at Nucor, which I'll just say briefly, it is hella empowering and I love it. And
Love it.
then also, Facebook. So we're sharing out in the local communities what we're doing. But one last thing that I did want to share that's really near and dear to my heart is that just having that internal community so that we're doing the right things for our veterans at Nucor. So we do have a community, it's called Veterans of Nucor, where we have focused teammates that are focused on talent and transition support. They're focused on mental health and mentorship. Those are two big areas of support that our veterans of Nucor across the country asked us for. And then that community involvement piece. I mean, Nucor divisions do a lot of good, whether it's our Operation Steel Warrior efforts, where we're fundraising to build adaptive homes in partnership with the Gary Sinise Rise Foundation. We've been doing that since 2013. Flights, been doing all the things, all the great things in the communities that we're operating in. So I do want to get that message out into the military community that this is a company that truly values veterans, military spouses, folks that are continuing to serve in the Guard and Reserve. Like, this can be a home for you and your family. So it's definitely been that home, that stability that I've been looking for my whole career. And it's just been awesome to just feel that empowerment that I'm experiencing. So thanks for letting me share all that, Beau.
No, that's fantastic. And again, the Veteran Resource Group is such a big deal, because again, that's the way you can you can still stay. Not that your job is not a good thing, but it's always. I think all of us want to have a way to continue to give back, and the fact you're giving back to the Honor Flight, to the Gary Sinise Foundation, to other, I'm sure, local, veteran organizations, and to continue to have that, because you don't appreciate, I think, in the military, that you are giving back every day sometimes, because you wear the uniform. I did for 25 years, and you kind of take it for granted almost. Like, well, I'm in the military, and you don't know you're going to miss it, the give back factor. And to have
That's
a
right.
company that values that, supports that, allows you to stay engaged in that is such a big part of the transition and successful transition to give you, again, just that sense of family, that sense of connectivity that's going to keep you in the family. And truly sounds like you've built a great Nucor family, and I love that. And then you get a hard hat. Once you have hard hat, you got to have a hard hat, right? I get the
So you
props,
get
right?
you get your green hard hat once you hit your 90-day mark with us. And that's something, I mean, there's teammates here in Connecticut that their families throw a party when they get their green hard hat, because that's how much it means, because this is a life-changing opportunity right here. So it's, yeah, all the green things, Beau, all the green
I
things.
love it. I love it. Hey, I'm going to say, wearing my green today, not the jacket, but wearing the green. And again, thank you
I
for the
love
time.
it. Thank
Congratulations on your
you.
upcoming wedding. I have my
Thank
daughter's
you.
getting married April 5th, so I have a wedding in the
Hey,
future as well. Now, maybe I'm not
awesome.
sure. Maybe I'm not looking for. I'm looking forward to it. It's just a different side of the house as the dad vice the bride. So, congratulations on that.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
being
Thank
such a
you.
great partner with Opline, but really more than that, about being just a great representative of what right looks like when it comes to building a company's team that is focused on hiring our veterans, our military spouses, our military community. And y'all are doing it right, and really, really appreciate that. And it's a pleasure to work with you. I look forward to continuing to work with you and getting you some great more veterans. So good stuff. Thanks again, Angel.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Beau. Like, you've been a great support in this community. I can't say enough about the military talent community in itself. Like, I haven't seen a community like this outside of when I'm not at Nucor. I teach Zumba for the past 10 years. So that community of positivity and just supporting each other for that common goal, like, it's been amazing to continue to develop in this space. So I appreciate your support and all the other folks that are just trying to help veterans find their way post service.
Love it. Well, hey, let's continue to do it, and I'll be
Yes.
seeing you out there on the trail, I'm sure. Good stuff. Thanks again,
Yeah.
Angel, for the time. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Out here.
Thanks
Bye.
so much, Beau. Bye.